Welcome to the Dad Show podcast. How y'all doing? Today is part 3.
It's like, just what life advice? At this point, I've got nothing left. I'm falling apart. It's like, let's swing for the fences. What do you got? It took about an hour because Dave's kind of long-winded like me in the best way.
Yeah.
He really navigated his life. And this guy, he was a naval aviator. He's brilliant. He's so well researched. And what he came to for his conclusion out of this life story, he said that my grace is sufficient. So it's like, okay. And at the time I'm like, all right, doesn't mean much.
Yeah. How do I deal with it?
Yeah, so, but I recorded that conversation because I wanted to reference it later. I kept going back to that. And I think that that's what sort of led me to it, where I said, let's hang this stuff up. And it took a while.
Yeah.
So several months of battling and fighting it. But I think that's what really led me out of it, was just knowing that I have a relationship with something that allows me to be better.
Yes.
And if that's the base of it, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to explore that.
Which is a good foundation for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, that's what, no matter what, no matter who, no matter when, whatever takes place, he is always with you, at least from my standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, I always have. Told you I've lost tons of relationships through alcohol and everything else. No matter what, if I lost everything today, I still know that God is walking with me 100% all the time. And I can talk to him, I can speak to him and feel his presence through everything. And, like you touch back on the alcohol and demonic meaning of going, the thoughts and, that's the ultimate deceiver of the devil, is to get you at a weak state so that he can deceive you anymore of, you're not good enough. You can't overcome this. There's no way. Like, you need to just give up. And, that's his goal, is to, if we're walking in, straight consciousness, we're, have no deviation of the mind whatsoever, then it's hard to get into our brains. And, there's still those voices of telling you you're not good enough. You can't do it. I mean, I've heard, so many voices in my head of, you can't do this podcast. Why are you even doing? There's no reason to do this. There's only a few people that listen to it. Yeah. There's no, all these things, but no, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to fight you. I'm going to go against that. And we're going to continue to have conversations like this because it's meant for somebody, even if it's just one person.
Right.
All of this is worth it. But if I'm at a, toxic mind of either on drugs, alcohol, or some other substance, it's so much easier to get in my head. And this podcast probably wouldn't be going on at all, because I'd be like, all right, yep, you're right. 100%. I'm not good enough and I'm cutting it off. There's no reason to put in this work and time.
Yeah. And I think that's something else that men deal with, is that we're never proud of ourselves for things that we accomplish.
Yeah.
And I fell into that. So, just what you just said made me think of that. I've done all this and, well, how do you feel about it at the end? And I was asked that by my wife at some point. She said, what makes you proud, or something like that. I had accomplished all these things professionally. I'd redone the house. Like, we've done all these great things. I just never give myself credit for anything.
Yeah.
And even that, as men, I don't know if everybody does that. But for me, that was a struggle in that too. It's like, you're never good enough.
Yeah.
Of course, she didn't make me feel that way.
Yeah.
Like that was a me problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
man, hold on. I gotta say a quote that I just snapshotted the other day.
Oh, for sure.
Golly, this goes so perfectly with it.
Yeah.
Here's the quote. You're so in your head where God is taking you that you can't even enjoy where he's brought you.
Absolutely.
And that goes exactly what we're always in it as addictions or whatever else. We're chasing that next thing. Like,
absolutely.
You don't enjoy where you're at today.
Yeah, you don't. And, if you really look at what led us to this, we're not yet 40,
Close.
healthy, close. We're close. We've got great things going for us. I think we did okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay that we pat ourselves on the back a little bit and say, you know what, you did good.
Yeah.
You survived. We brought new humans into the world. They're alive.
Yes.
Somehow.
They're fed, they're taken care
I
of.
know.
They have a roof over their head. And that's so powerful to just think of, to be in the moment. And like you said, look at yourself and be like, no, I don't need to be worried about just what we said earlier with our kids, of letting them mature at their own rate, of be happy with where you are today and be proud of yourself with where you are today, rather than I've got to get to the next level. I've got to do this. I've got to continue here. Like, live in it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't enjoy it, what's the reason in putting the work in?
Yeah, absolutely. And I almost feel like a hypocrite, because the last time on your podcast, I said that you should build a strong foundation for your marriage, so that way the roof doesn't fall off.
Yeah.
And that's somewhere where I have, kind of faltered over the last year. And I think that alcohol significantly made that a bigger problem. Is, we don't live in the moment. We don't look at our wives as, say, our best friends, or we don't lean into them when we should. We try to be by ourselves, or we, try to, I guess just not be at our best.
Yeah.
It breaks us down. It makes us, much worse.
Yeah.
That's a lesson I had to learn.
Yeah.
And because, as good as you try to make your marriage, let me tell you, I darn near destroyed it with alcohol. And thank God I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I realized that, what was the quote? I believe it was Tyson that said it. It was really good. And of course it comes from Tyson. So
It's got to be good.
They said, if you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil.
Yes.
And,
there's no truer statement than that.
I'm telling you, man,
Golly.
I've learned that. It's ever since I tried to, I got it in my mind, back in April. It's like, okay, I've dealt with depression long enough. It's time to do this. And it's like, I just kept falling all over myself. And it's like, you have to be stronger than that force, though.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm trying. And, but yeah, that force will pull you, and you just got to keep trying,
What do you feel like helped you? Do you feel like turning to God helped you pull that through completely?
I think that thought helped a little.
Yeah.
Another thing that helped was that, my marriage is, the best thing I have.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, dude, you're destroying this. Like, before anything else, you don't want to be that person that your spouse can't rely on.
Yeah.
So that thought was kind of hard. It's like, okay, self-check, and then being able to hang up those burdens, that definitely helped. That's kind of led me to where I'm at today, so yeah, I think a mix, really. And one helps the other. I think it's very much, connected, I think.
One of the hardest things that I had to accept was when we were going through our kids' stuff, was I felt like I had to be the rock 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And so, dude, it's so bold and so huge that you confessed, and, and it was hard for me as well. Like, there was a time I had to break down. Like, yes, I could call the other guys and, just talk to them and break down to them. But there comes a moment when you have to do that with your spouse.
Yeah.
And like, I'm broken, babe. Like,
yeah.
And dude, it is so fascinating that when your wife truly loves you and truly values your marriage, and she becomes your rock.
Yeah.
When that time of need, but it is so, selfless. It's so humiliating as a man to confess that, dude.
Yeah.
So I commend you. I'm proud of you for doing that, because that takes a lot. It takes a lot to do.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. is, as men, we're prideful.
Yes.
Pride will get you in trouble. It will.
Yeah.
And I that was a hard lesson I had to learn too, because as good as at my job as I was very arrogant.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I was good, but I just walked around with this chip on my shoulder, and nobody could stop me. And in hindsight, I probably could have done a little bit better if I had just let go of some of that pride. And in your marriage, you have to as well. It's, you try, if you're not 100%, you try to put on a front like you are.
Yeah.
And, that extra weight every day, it'll break your legs eventually.
Eventually. Yeah.
And it does.
With that, and then you even stated in here that you're putting on the front of being your goofy self.
Yeah.
How hard was that to every day to carry these burdens and carry everything, but yet on the outside, you still wanted to be that fun, goofy.
It was difficult because, you're on one front, you want to just say like, hey, I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
And then on the other, it's, you don't want to be a burden.
Well, that's, yeah.
And that was kind of my thought. So I don't want to be a burden to anybody. I can handle it. I've got it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So to do that just over and over, especially, I don't live here. So I'm just calling friends at home. Hey, how are you? I'm great.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm perfect up here. So that putting on that kind of front, it's not good, especially to your closest friends. And eventually I think they saw through it. And which is why I keep such a tight circle.
Yeah.
Because they do see through it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, dude, you're not okay. What's going on? Like, they'll call my wife. She'll call them. So that's when I get a phone call from Shillings or something.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
And I feel like, thinking back on this whole conversation, we was in DC at the time at another conference. We were heading on a cruise. And I think you messaged my wife. I don't think you messaged me.
Yeah, I happened to stumble across her, yeah.
And I think, now thinking back, that was probably a small call for help on your standpoint.
Yeah.
That I should have you and the message was, hey, I've got this feeling Ryan needs to talk. I feel like something's going on. Have him reach out to me.
Yeah.
And, thinking back on it now, that was probably a little bit of call for help on your standpoint. And you may have had the feeling, but yet you wanted to talk as well.
Yeah, it probably was. I remember that night clearly. And I think that probably was part of it. I tried a few times with some folks directly, what I thought was directly, but and then finally one day I just had to say it out loud.
Yeah.
I was like, just buckle up, Shillings. Here it comes.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that's a lot. And that's really what started this whole thing into getting much better. It's just talking it out, realizing that our friends do care.
Yeah. What was the straw that broke the camel's back that you was like, hey, I'm going to let it out. I'm not going to put on this goofy front. I'm going to make this post, whatever the case may be. Like, what was the straw? I think
it was, I saw what I was doing to my family. I wasn't a strong leader. I wasn't doing all the things that I needed to do because I was just stuck in my own head of, check the boxes, go to work, let it stress you out.
Yeah.
Don't be in the moment on those, if you work 6 days that week, fine. You have a Tuesday off with your wife, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I just saw the impact of that. And it's like, okay, it's time to really, really get this together 100%, not just the alcohol. It's whatever's bothering you, you hang it up, let it go. I think that's what it was. It just finally got to me where it's like, okay, we can do this a lot better. I think.
You think?
I think.
So what was some of the ways for some of the women that may be listening to this, what was some of the ways that your wife helped you carry these burdens, that she was your rock, that she was strong for you, and some of the ways she supported you?
Well, we've always split housework, dinners. It goes on who's at home, who's getting home when, who does what when.
Yeah.
I think that she really picked up on the, I wasn't being as productive at home. I was working more my gosh, the way the economy, to just buy eggs.
Yes.
It's expensive now. Yeah. So she was really great in that regard. She'd pick up takeout. She'd do just whatever. And she knows that what brings me comfort and peace is, just lay on my chest at night, things like that. Even when I'm running around the house and she knows like, oh, he's just ADHDing over there. Let's go to bed.
Yeah. I'm
going to lay on you. You can scroll TikTok or whatever you want to do, but lay your butt down.
Yeah.
She knows that helps me. Even though at the time, I want to, but you have stuff to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
You gotta be in the moment.
Yeah.
It's like these women try to teach us things, we're just too hard headed.
And we should listen. They're a lot smarter than we are for sure.
So that's probably the biggest thing. She's, as much as it weighs on somebody to be married to somebody that is dealing with an addiction, she showed a lot of grace in that regard too. She'd get angry, of course. And, some of that probably helped too.
Yeah.
It's definitely helps. Sometimes in the moment, no, but I'm pretty self-reflective. So okay, I see what she was doing there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're partners for a reason. I think they were taken from our rib for a reason. They're a part of us and they know what bothers us.
Yes.
I think that's something they're in tune to that we aren't.
Well, when you get married and you have a mature and good relationship with your wife, you truly, and I know this sounds so cliche to say this, but you truly become one.
Well, you are.
And, if it's an ebb and flow, and if it's not ebbing when it should flow, like it's, there's a mix up of the chemistry and everything. And, as men, you realize it with your wives, and the wives vice versa. And that is so powerful that to be there and notice those things, and yes, correct it, be acceptive to the correction, and change it for the better of your all's relationship and your family.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said that, when I was studying biblical stories, that, they didn't come from the rib for no reason.
Yeah.
It protects our heart.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff that we don't see as men, they bear that burden.
Yeah.
So we are one. And I truly believe that, because they see things storming in us before we know what's happening. They sense our energy. They know when our bag slams down just a little harder than it usually does.
Yep.
They're attuned to that.
Yes. And we huff and puff maybe a little more.
Yep. I've just started listening. Okay. it's helped.
So what is some of the ways, because I know there's so many people out there that whether they may be dealing with a death, they may be dealing with an addiction, they may be dealing with some kind of depression, whatever the case caused it may be, like what's the biggest takeaways that you can possibly give advice to somebody that is, I know you're not over the hump. I know that you're not the tell all be all, but what is some of the ways, man? Because obviously some things have helped you overcome this. What is some of the main ways that you could give advice to somebody on how to overcome?
Physically, I would say you have to find some substitute initially. That's for sure. Whether it be energy drinks, chewing gum, something less destructive.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mine's energy drinks.
Yeah. That was kind of my thing. It's just in those times where you're stressed and you want to go back to your substance, pop that energy drink, do something.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Every time it's hard.
Yes.
It really is. So that's one thing. The other thing is you have to have a goal. As men, that's what we're driven by. And I feel like that's what sustains us is, the journey to the next goal.
Yeah.
Because we're never satisfied.
No.
You have this great studio and you're probably thinking, oh, I could do this or I could do.
You read my mind.
I know your wheels are turning, and me the same thing. You have to know what you're going for. And what I was going for is what sustains me. It's, the relationship I have with my wife and my kids, the professional relationships that I maintain, being able to give my leadership training courses, but also be able to be a leader when I'm not doing those courses.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to teach leadership to young nurses when you yourself are not performing as an optimal leader.
Yeah.
So it's having a goal in mind and putting every foot forward you can to it. Even if it's a baby step.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing.
I agree.
And sometimes those baby steps are embarrassing how small they are.
But how much better you feel when you accomplish them. Like, yes, I agree 100% to make a goal, but also not just make the goal of, hey, I'm going to make $1 million. Like, let's start how we're going to make $100 first and how we're going to make 150. Then we'll move it to, start doubling that and make that plan out with that goal. Because if you don't hit those little milestones, like you just said, of those baby steps, you'll never get to your goal.
Absolutely.
And the fire of accomplishing the small goals to get to the ultimate goal will eventually end with you, conquering your ultimate goal.
Yeah, it will. And I think it leads us, to be our best self, and if your best self is just a little bit better than being drunk on the couch, that's okay. You're doing fine, bud.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's really what I've learned. It's, I've enjoyed the last few years of studying hard and developing myself professionally, and all the different career paths I've went down the last 3 years. It's been wild, and I could focus on those things again and, not have to worry about, what's stressing me out. But everybody's different though. Because some people, they don't have things going for them. And that, to that, it's, you have to just have the most minuscule goal you can and work from there.
Yeah.
It's my overall generalized advice that helped me.
Yeah. One of the biggest things, it was in a podcast, and it was one of those aha moments that I had just the other day. Tristan, who was on with me, was talking about, it was like the dad that walks into the bedroom of his kid every night, and he's got a device on his leg, and they're trying to get the leg straighter. So this device is helping mechanically do that and stretch it out. And so every night the dad's got to come in and tighten the screws a little more to make the leg a little straighter. And the kid's sitting there going, no, don't, not tonight, Daddy, not tonight. And, the dad's like, I've got to do it for the better of you, to reach our goal, to get to where you want to get to. And, the dad leaves the room and he's crying, but he's got to come in every night and do this. And, and then it hit me 100%. That's what I do with my kids all the time. No, babe, I'm sorry. We have to go through this surgery for the better of you. We have to go through this appointment for the better of you. We have to go through this therapy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're pushing through to get to the better of you. And it hit me, and I was like, that's God. I am pushing my kids through this. God is pushing us through our hard times. Yes, you're going through a hard time. Yes, you're battling this, you're battling that. But it's to make you stronger for the better of you coming up. And when that hit me, that every struggle that I've had, every bad day that I've had, every addiction that I've overcome, every sad, depressed moment, that is God behind me pushing, saying, no, this is for the better. I know it sucks. I know it hurts. I know it's hard. This is for the better of you and what's to come. I'm making you stronger for a reason. And when that hit me, oh, dude.
Yeah.
My life since then, and this was probably 2 weeks ago that we had, my life has been like, every hard moment, every bad thing that's happened since then, I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you for that. I know you're making me stronger and you're pushing me through this for a reason.
Yeah. I think it's all tied together. Everything that happens to you. And I've had things over the last few years happen that I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And it's led me to where I'm at today. And you have to go through that. And I think it's part of the maturation process.
Yeah.
It's, what they say, iron sharpens iron. So sometimes you got to go in the fire a little bit. It sucks at times, that's for sure.
It does, yeah.
But I think that's how we teach our sons discipline too.
Yeah,
is by going through those things, letting them watch.
and like that's the whole thing you were talking on earlier was,
Thank you for coming to watch part 3 and come tomorrow to watch part 4. Thank you for listening to the Dad Show podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Show podcast. Please like, review, and subscribe.